everyone, welcome back to John Florio channel. I am Mary and I'm here to talk about John Florio. We know that Giordano Bruno was a philosopher and a revolutionary thinker, but very few knows that he was a theatre lover and a dramatist. Yes, because in 1582 Giordano Bruno wrote Il Candelaio, the candle bearer. This work, compared to other Bruno's works, has received relatively little attention. I have shown you in the past videos all the references to Bruno's works in Shakespeare Hamlet. Today I will reveal all Bruno's references in Bruno'S and how this analysis today has almost completely disappeared from Shakespeare books, leaving a void in the understanding of this play. I want you to understand this because this is very important. This is the reason why today Bruno'S is considered a play with no literary source, because most of scholars ignore Giordano Bruno and John Florio. But today I will show you all the similarities between Bruno's comedy and Bruno'S. But before we start, if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, and if you want to like, to share, to comment this video. This community is growing very fast, so I want to humbly say thank you. And now, let's start! A comedy written in Neapolitan dialect and a play written by English's most famous dramatist. What these two comedies have in common? Let's start with the topics. In The Candle Bearer we have three main topics. Love, portrayed by the character Bonifacio, alchemy, portrayed by Bartolomeo, and pedantry, portrayed by Florio. In Bruno'S we have love of the three men for Rosalind, Mary and Catherine, science, King of Navarre, Longueville and Dumas, and pedantry, Holofernes. In Il Candelaio, Bonifacio has a young and beautiful wife, but he is in love with a prostitute named Vittoria. Through Bonifacio, Bruno satirized that madness of love that is represented by the Petrarchan style, which is the cause of the loss of dignity and humanity in man. With Bartolomeo, who seeks to enrich himself by turning metals into gold, Bruno reveals the second topic of his satire, the vain, vulgar and irrational science. With Holofernes, Bruno satirized the pedantry of the time. Florio is a schoolmaster who is understood by no one, who lives locked in his own words of quotations, authority, Latinism. He represents that pedant whom Bruno hated fiercely and whom he constantly criticized. Now, in Bruno'S, Shakespeare focused his satire against the scientific folly, the amorous folly, the folly pedantry. The scientific folly in Bruno'S is represented by the King of Navarre, Longueville, Maine and Biron, isolated in a little academy, still a contemplative in living art, spending 3 years in study, meditation and asceticism. Through them, Shakespeare intends to ridicule them and to ridicule those men who conceive scientific research as detached from reality and the human context are destined to fail. Vain and foolish because unnatural is the dream of Navarre, Longueville, Dumas, as is Bartolomeo's dream in Il Candelaio. The subsequent vicissitudes of the king and his friends, now in love with the Princess of France and her 3 ladies, Rosalind, Mary and Catherine, whom they, as soon as they arrived, had refused to receive, are the subject of Shakespeare's second satire in Bruno'S, the satire of love. Navarre, Longueville and Dumas are afflicted by the same madness that afflicts Bonifacio. Again, this madness is expressed through Petrarchism. Finally, the vicissitudes of Holofernes are material for Shakespeare's satire against pedantry. Holofernes, like Manfurio, use a lot of synonyms, Latin expressions with Italian or English self-glorify, make a show of erudite quotations. He is the symbol of the 16th century pedant, so detested by Shakespeare as by Bruno, the prototype of a sterile, codified culture without spontaneity, without inventiveness, and therefore the object of a biting satire. Holofernes, like Manfurio, is the embodiment of the pedant that was flourishing at the time at Oxford, and against whom Bruno had a fierce debate. Now, the structure. The two comedies also present curious structural affinities. The first three acts are rather short and discursive, while the fourth and the fifth are long and intricate. There is also a certain symmetry of construction with the acts themselves. For example, in the first act, the authors present the main male characters in Il Candelaio, Bonifacio, Bartolomeo e Manfurio, the antagonists Scaramouche, Cencio and Sanguino, and an isolated male figure, the painter Giovan Bernardo, who represents the author himself, Giordano Bruno. In Los Labus Los, Navarra, Dumont, Longueville and Armando, the antagonists Costard and Moth, and another isolated male figure, Biron, that many scholars have pointed out being so similar, if not a real translation, of the name Bruno. In the second act of Il Candelaio, the female protagonists are introduced. Signora Vittoria, the object of Bonifacio's heart, her servant Lucia and Marta. In the second act of Los Labus Los, the princes of France, Rosalie, Mary and Catherine enter the scene. The second act of both plays is pervaded by the feminine spirit. The third act focuses on the figure of the pedant. In Il Candelaio, Manfurio is mocked and punished for his pedantry by Marca, Barra, Sanguino and Corcovizzo, scoldrels disguised as false cops. Whereas in Los Labus Los, Armando, for his baroque riddles, his witticism is mocked and punished by his servants, Moth and Custard. In the fourth act of Il Candelaio, we have great abundance of incidents and details, disguise, punishments and pranks. In Los Labus Los, the princes Catherine, Mary and Rosalie prepare the punishment of Navarre, Dumaine and Longueville. In the fifth act, we witness a female triumph. Cherubina and Marta take back their respective husbands' cue of their follies. In Los Labus Los, the princess and her ladies force Navarre, Dumas, Longueville and Biron into a year-long royal monastic retreat before granting them their hand. Always in the fifth act, we also have the punishment and further ridicule of the pedants. Holofernes is forced to retire from the stage. Manfurio is once again beaten. Having established the symmetries of intentions and acts in both plays, it's not surprising to discover that there is also a symmetry in the roles of the characters in both plays. A symmetry already noted in Manfurio Holofernes, Biron and Giovan Bernardo, conceived by the authors as detached observers and impartial commentators of the other's follies, almost deus ex machina, or as Biron described it, demigods. But a more important parallelism of both plays is represented by the female characters, the servants and the fake cops, Vittoria, Lucia, Marta and Cherubina, and the princess Rosalie, Catherine and Mary have the same function, that of punishing men, husbands or prospective lovers, who caught up in follies of various kinds, prove perjurers and deceivers and despise women and their femininity. But if we go deeper and deeper, we find other similarities between these two plays. An examination of the language of Candelaio and Love's Labour's Lost shows that Shakespeare and Bruno use similar symbols in the two comedies. Now it's the candles, now it's the sun, now it's the stars, now it's women's eyes. The language of the two plays is rich in allusions to light and darkness. The very title is Candelaio, and the various allusions in it to candles have a symbolic meaning. They evoke light, with it a deeper meaning. Light means knowledge, darkness means ignorance, the same meaning that Giordano Bruno gives to light and darkness in his works. As you can see, these two comedies have a lot in common. Topics, plots, characters, symbols, structure of the acts. It seems like Shakespeare Love's Labour's Lost is an English adaptation, a translation, and homage that Shakespeare does to Giordano Bruno. And it is shocking and sad that today this comedy and this analysis is completely ignored by the majority of Shakespeare scholars. Because as you can see, thanks to this play and thanks to this source, we can better understand Shakespeare's play, the plot, Shakespeare's intention, what he wanted to say through this play and how he wanted to say it. Thanks to Giordano Bruno, it is possible to better and fully understand Shakespeare and his plays. I hope that you liked this video on Shakespeare Love's Labour's Lost and Giordano Bruno Il Candelaio. Let me know in the comments if you have questions, suggestions, comments, and give a thumb up if you liked the video. Next time I will end this series of videos on Love's Labour's Lost with my theory, my idea of why there is so much John Florio and Giordano Bruno in Shakespeare Love's Labour's Lost and how he was able to write it. Stay resolute. Bye.